1,600 years ago, the greatest empire in history collapsed partly because its soil wore out. Rome ruled from Britain to Egypt for 500 years, feeding 70 million people through massive grain imports. Then the farmland that fed the empire began failing. Yields dropped, harvests shrunk. Emperors couldn't feed their armies. The civilization that built roads across 3 continents couldn't grow enough food. Unearth the agricultural exhaustion that contributed to the fall of Rome. By the year 100 AD, Rome's borders stretched across 3 continents, containing an estimated 70 million people. At the center of it all, the capital city packed 1 million residents into a dense urban grid. A population concentrated at that scale requires a massive, continuous influx of calories from the outside world just to avoid mass starvation. To maintain civic order, the state established the famous bread and circuses system. Every single day, 200,000 of the city's poorest citizens relied entirely on a free, guaranteed ration of grain distributed by the government. This distribution relied on a tight physical choke point, the harbor at Ostia. Hundreds of transport ships had to arrive daily in an endless, perfectly synchronized logistical conveyor belt. This entire imperial structure was built on a foundation of constant, high-volume shipping. By the 2nd century, the stability of the capital depended less on its legions and more on the uninterrupted flow of calories from distant provinces. To meet this immense demand, early Roman agriculture transitioned away from small family plots and consolidated into massive, aristocratic-owned estates known as latifundia. These operations were driven by a continuous supply of cheap slave labor captured during military campaigns. With human labor practically free, estate owners had zero financial incentive to invent new farming technology or adopt sustainable practices. The operational model was strict monoculture. They planted thousands of continuous acres with a single cash crop, like wheat, and harvested it year after year. This approach prioritized maximum immediate extraction over soil preservation. Every harvest built up an invisible biological debt in the ground that would eventually come due. The largest share of that debt accumulated in North Africa, specifically across modern Tunisia and Algeria. This region possessed the Mediterranean's most fertile soil and quickly became Rome's primary breadbasket. The output was staggering. North African provinces exported 500,000 tons of wheat every single year, shipped directly across the sea to feed the capital. Sustaining that volume required vast infrastructure. Colossal agricultural estates blanketed former Carthaginian territories, supported by massive state-contracted shipping fleets. The Romans established a permanent, heavy footprint in this arid landscape. The construction of massive stone temples and cities proves they were fully committed to extracting North Africa's agricultural wealth over the long term. The political stability of the Mediterranean world now depended entirely on the continuous biological fertility of North African dirt. To understand how that dirt eventually failed, we have to look at the basic mechanics of soil chemistry. Every plant you pull from the earth physically takes nutrients with it. Wheat is an especially heavy feeder. If you look at this cross-section of the root system, you can see the plant systematically extracting nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium from the soil, leaving the surrounding earth chemically depleted. Traditional farming mitigates this through biological workarounds. Farmers let fields lie fallow, apply organic manure, or plant legumes to pull atmospheric nitrogen back into the dirt. The latifundia monoculture system completely bypassed these laws. Estate managers forced endless, consecutive wheat plantings over vast acreages without any replenishment. Biological limits are absolute. By ignoring the basic biogeochemistry of the soil, the Roman agricultural sector guaranteed its eventual mathematical failure. The Romans possessed the agronomic knowledge to prevent this. Around 60 AD, the writer Columella published a 12-volume agricultural treatise, meticulously documenting a widespread decline in crop yields. Columella recommended clear solutions, implementing strict crop rotation, carefully managing manure, and breaking up the latifundia into smaller farms requiring direct owner supervision. Elite landowners read his work and actively dismissed it. We calculated that adopting sustainable practices would reduce their short-term profit margins, and they chose the cash. As Italian soils died, the state compensated by clearing huge tracts of pristine land in North Africa. This horizontal expansion temporarily masked the crisis by throwing new acreage at a broken methodology. The impending collapse was not caused by a lack of scientific understanding. It was driven by an economic structure that heavily penalized sustainable farming. Over 3 centuries, Italian wheat harvests plummeted from 5 seeds returned per seed planted down to 2. With population consistently high, this widening gap created a structural famine. Less food for the same number of mouths caused a permanent caloric deficit. To close that deficit, North African farmers resorted to desperate measures. They stripped the native vegetation off steep, marginal hillsides and aggressively plowed them for wheat. The physical results were disastrous. Without deep root systems to anchor the earth, winter rains washed the exposed topsoil away entirely, choking local river systems with silt. This catastrophic erosion left permanent physical scars on the landscape. Across Tunisia, massive gullies still cut through former farmland, leaving only bare rock behind. By the 3rd century, no amount of perfect weather or intense labor could fix the problem. The physical capacity of the earth to grow food was broken. The destruction of the soil triggered an immediate cascade through the Roman state. The imperial government relied almost entirely on agricultural taxation for its revenue. As harvest volume shrank, emperors responded by simply raising the tax rates on the remaining crops. Landowners fell into deep debt and mass abandoned their farms entirely. To maintain military spending despite falling revenues, the government began debasing the currency. They reduced the silver content in coins, triggering hyperinflation that paralyzed commerce. This created an impossible military paradox. A single Roman legion required 30 tons of grain every week just to function. With provincial supply chains broken, starving border legions had to drop their weapons and plant their own crops to survive, neutralizing their ability to defend the borders. The feedback loop was complete. Biological failure triggered an economic collapse, which directly eliminated the empire's military capacity. Historians often point to the Visigoth sack of Rome in 410 AD as the fall of the empire. But those external attacks were merely the final shocks applied to a system already hollowed out by starvation. The actual fatal blow struck in 429 AD, when Vandal forces conquer North Africa. This permanently severed the grain shipments, abruptly turning off the life support system for the Western capital. We know this collapse was driven by farming practices rather than fate because we have a control group. The Eastern Roman, or Byzantine Empire, survived nearly 1,000 years longer than the West. The Byzantines utilized a very different agricultural methodology. They relied on smaller farm plots, cultivated diverse regional food networks to absorb local failures, and integrated strict crop rotation. The survival of the East shows that the collapse was not a geographical or historical inevitability. It was the result of a specific agricultural strategy, one that could be avoided or maintained depending on how the land was managed. Jumping forward to the 21st century, modern industrial agriculture mirrors the failed Roman model in alarming ways. Today's massive, mechanized operations are the direct descendants of the latifundia. We rely on the exact same vast monoculture planting to maximize immediate caloric extraction. We maintain an illusion of success only through the heavy application of synthetic fertilizers. These chemicals artificially mask our severe depletion of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, temporarily hiding our own biological debt. The physical data reveals the true cost. Current topsoil across North America is being lost to erosion at 10 times the rate of natural regeneration. Modern technology can mask these losses for a time, but it cannot replace the physical layer of topsoil that takes centuries to form. If the rate of extraction continues to outpace regeneration, we face the same biological exhaustion that eventually rendered Rome's provinces unable to support an empire. Rome's greatest achievement was feeding 70 million people, and its failure was exhausting the soil that fed them. Unearth the History brings you the agricultural collapse behind the empire's fall. Remember farming's final fall, learn from ancient soil mistakes, and subscribe to keep the lost wisdom growing.